DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, techniques, mentalities, all under one unifying philosophy that is called, let's all say it together, work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is why people who are not nearly as good as you are actually doing better than you and achieving more than you. What is the problem? Why is this happening? How can you fix it? What do you not know? What are you missing? I will help answer all of those questions here today. Now, before I get into it, first let me tell you that I have a daily motivation text message that I send out every single day, free of charge, to everyone's phone. The only way to get it, all you have to do to get it, is join my texting community completely free of charge by texting me at this number, 305-384-6894. Once you text me, you're confirmed you'll be getting my daily motivation every day, and that is me you are texting with, so you can reply to any one of those texts. You can ask a question. I might ask you a question or two every now and then, and you are texting directly with me. That is the only place to do so. That number is down below, also in the show notes for those who missed it. So this topic again, why people aren't as good as you or doing better than you. Have you ever found yourself in this space where you see somebody and you're like, man, I know I'm better than this person. I know I have more skills than them. I know I work harder than them. I know I put more time in than they have. I am more deserving of success than this person is, for whatever reason you believe that. But you're looking at the situation and they are just out achieving you. Maybe they got more followers on the internet than you. Maybe they're making more sales than you. They're making more money than you. They just seem to have their shit together a lot more than you, even though you feel like you're better than them at what you do and you're trying to figure this out. Episode 2032, I talked about why you must get your shit together. Maybe this might be the thing that kind of sparked you to get your shit together. It became the foot in the ass when you realized that somebody who wasn't anywhere close to you skill-wise was actually doing better than you. We're going to talk about this today because there are some things that actually lead to this. This does happen. There are some things that lead to it, and we're going to talk about it today so that you can become consciously aware of why somebody who is not in your class skill-wise or talent-wise or hard work-wise or effort-wise could still be kicking your ass achievement-wise and accomplishment-wise. How can this even be? It seems to be going against the laws of the universe, but it's actually not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there are some things that are stronger when it comes to achievement and success than just your hard work and your belief that you deserve it and how good you think you are and how skilled you have become. Let's get into what those are, and you should really take notes on these because those of you who are in this position, this will help flip that equation around. And those of you who are not in this position, let's say you feel like you're doing pretty well accomplishment and achievement wise. I guarantee you, if you get more conscious about these elements I'm going to point out here today, your accomplishments and your achievements will go up exponentially because you're combining not only the tangible stuff like your skills and your ability, but also some intangibles I'm going to lay out here today. Everybody follow me? Good. Point number one. Topic once again is why people who are not nearly as good as you are actually doing better than you. Number one, this is the most important one. Belief and expectations. Belief and expectations. Many of the things we've been talking about lately, episode 2023, the life-changing 48-hour experiment, are about expectations and beliefs. What is confidence? It is the belief in your ability that you can do something. How much and how strongly do you believe in yourself? How consistent is your belief? How often do you get thrown off of the horse of belief? In other words, you stop believing, at least positively, about yourself and where you can go. How strong are your expectations for yourself? I've been telling you for years that in the long run of life, you will become your expectations. Whatever you expect of yourself in life, in the long run, as long as you maintain those expectations, that is exactly what you'll become. If you expect to be a failure, even if you're doing amazing right now, eventually you will be a failure because that's what you expect. If you expect to be a success, even if you are looking terrible right now, you are fucked up in the game, as we say right now, in the long run, you will be successful simply because you have a positive expectation. And understand something about expectations. It's not just some woo-woo, sit around and things just start happening magically. When you expect something, you will take actions around it. You will do things that reflect those expectations. So when I ask you what your expectations are, don't think that saying your expectation is one thing when you don't actually believe it is actually going to do anything. Your real expectations in life are reflected in your actions. You want to know what someone expects? Just watch their actions. If someone expects to be in good shape, you know what they do? They work out. They go to the gym. They exercise. If someone expects it to rain, what do? They bring an umbrella or a jacket or a hoodie or something to protect them from the weather that they expect to happen later on in the day. If someone expects to have clean business clothes, what do? They take their suits and their shirts and their ties and whatever, they take them to the cleaners to get cleaned. Why? Because that's their expectation. Someone expects to eat food, they probably go to the grocery store, to the restaurant, they dial up Uber Eats and get some food. I mean, you don't sit in a house that has no food in it and then say you expect to eat. You don't have any food in the house. So you do something to match the expectation that you have. Does this all make sense to everybody? If you expect to read, then you probably go get some books, or you find some articles, or you grab some material that you can actually sit down and read. Whatever you expect to have, you take actions around it. If you expect your phone to work every day, then you will find a way to pay the bill every month. Why? Because it's matching the expectation. Beliefs and expectations are the number one tool that creates success. Yes, this is the guy who has on a hat right now that says, work on your fucking game. I'm telling you that your beliefs and your expectations are the number one tools that create or destroy your success. Now, why don't I just call my company work on your beliefs and expectations? Why don't I just call it beliefs and expectations? Why call it work on your game if I think beliefs and expectations are stronger than working on your game? Well, here's why. Because they're connected. When you believe and you expect to have game, what will you do? You'll work on your game. See, the actions working on your game reflect the expectations that you're going to have game. When I expected to have game as an athlete, what did I do every day? Those of you who remember me from back in the YouTube basketball days, I'm still on YouTube, but the YouTube basketball days, what was I doing every day? You saw it on YouTube. I was in the gym working on my fucking game. Why? Because I expected to have game. So when I got into a game against other players, I knew that I could go out there and perform. Why? Because I did the work. Why did I do the work? Because I had an expectation of performing. You see, they support each other. A lot of success in life is based on your belief that you can be a success and the subsequent actions that accompany that belief. The most successful people that you know, they have high beliefs of themselves for their future success, and they take actions that reflect those high beliefs. See, people who have high beliefs about themselves and where they're going to be in life, you know what they do? They invest in themselves in ways that people whose belief is not as high would not invest in themselves. See, a person who has high expectations for their success in life, you know what they'll do? They'll make an investment in themselves that might seem exorbitant to a person with mediocre beliefs and mediocre expectations of themselves. But the person with the high beliefs and expectations, they don't make that bigger investment simply because they have more money. Maybe they do, but that's not the reason that they make the investment. They make the investment because their expectations are so high that they're willing to invest at a high level because they know they will make back 10 times in return on investment anything that they invest. So the more that they invest, the more they're going to make back. That's all based on their belief. And a person with low, mediocre, or non-existent beliefs in their future success, they won't invest in themselves at all because all they're thinking about is what they have to give up. They're not even thinking about what they're going to get back because they don't have an expectation that they're going to get anything back. Therefore, they never invest. And because they never invest, they never reap the return on investment. And therefore, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. See how all that works? See, the principles of the universe, folks, are universal. All right, these are not things that somebody just made up. They are not happenstance. They don't happen randomly. They don't happen by accident. These things are universal principles. Whether I was saying it or somebody else was saying it, they all apply the same way no matter what, no matter where you get them from. And a lot of success in life, I will say it again, is based on your belief that you can be a success and the subsequent actions that accompany those beliefs. So there are people out there who have less skill than you, significantly less skill than you. And the reason that they're out achieving you is simply because they are aiming higher than you're aiming. And what's interesting is they aren't even as qualified on paper to be aiming as high as they are. They are not qualified to be aiming that high, at least based on your measurement. They shouldn't be aiming that high. Like, they only got the skill to accomplish that. But they're outperforming you simply because they're aiming a little bit higher than you are. they're trying, the fact that they are willing to try qualifies them. I remember I was the president of Toastmasters down in South Beach in 2015 going into 2016. And I remember I was giving a speech one time about expertise, about a person putting themselves out as an expert on a certain topic. And someone asked the question when I was done giving my presentation. They said, well, Dre, what qualifies someone to be an expert? What makes somebody an expert on a topic? Because there isn't really, in most industries I know, there isn't any expert certification. There are some industries that do have an expert certification. You get a certain document, pass a certain test, you get labeled an expert. But many areas, there's no certification for being a disciplined expert or a podcasting expert or a basketball expert. There's no certification for it. There's no governing body that tells you, okay, Dre, now you are officially an expert. So how does someone become an expert? And here was my answer. And you should write this one down and start applying it. You become an expert as soon as you decide that you're an expert. You become an expert as soon as you decide that you are qualified to be an expert. And if you want to get more practical and logical on the subject, here's another way of looking at it. You are an expert on the subject when you know more than anybody else in the room or anyone else in the conversation on that subject. So if you never played professional basketball in your life and you and I are having a conversation about professional basketball, who's the expert? Me. Simply because I know more than you. So between me and you, I'm the expert. So you can take that same idea and you can apply it to anything that you do. And this is why you don't need to be at the top of your field to make money selling your intellectual property on any subject or your knowledge or your skills on any subject. All you need to do is get into a room of people in which you know more than them and you are the expert. And they will be willing to pay you because you are the de facto expert in that room. You don't have to be the expert of the whole world. You just got to be expert in the room that you're in. And people will be willing to pay you because you know something that they don't know. And they're willing to pay for the information. They're willing to pay for the knowledge. So belief and expectations is the number one thing that separates achievement from lack of achievement, regardless of your skill set. Did you hear what I just said? Belief and expectations is the number one thing that separates achievement from non-achievement, regardless of someone's skill set. Many people are just aiming higher than you are, and that's why they're qualified to get what they get, because they're trying to get it. The fact that you're not trying to get something disqualifies you from having it. So any of you right now who feels like you should be achieving more, here's my question to you. How often are you putting yourself in line to actually getting that achievement? Aside from you talking about it, how often are you actually doing something to get that achievement? How often are you putting yourself in line with getting that thing? You feel like you should be making X number of dollars. When's the last time you offered a sale? You offered some type of offering. You tried to sell a product that costs X number of dollars. Or if you take a product that costs less than that, how many people are you offering it to that if every one of them bought, it would even equal X number of dollars? If you're not making that offer, then how can you expect to get the money? Let's say you expect to make $10,000 a year, right? And you have a $1,000 product that you're selling, but you only made the offer to 5 people. So if everybody you offered it to bought it, you would only make $5,000, but you say you deserve to make $10,000. How is that even possible? You haven't even made $10,000 worth of offerings to even make the money. This is what many of you are doing. You say you're not getting X, but you're not doing anything to even align yourself to get X. Even if you shot 1,000%, even if you were perfect, you couldn't get X because you haven't made enough offers to get it. This is the number one thing that's separating you from the accomplishments that you want. It has nothing to do with your game. It has nothing to do with your skill. It has everything to do with your beliefs and your expectations and the actions that solidify and make those beliefs real. The good news is, with everything that I just told you, you can change the situation any moment that you want just by making a single decision. Now, you can change this right now. Now, this is not a 6-month process. You can change this right now if you want to. And there are ways that I can help you with that. Let's move on to point number 2. Topic, once again, is why people who are not nearly as good as you are actually doing better than you. Number 2, strategies. If you listen to this show consistently enough, you'll notice that there's a lot of themes that come up over and over and over again. Beliefs, expectations, mindsets, strategies, actions that follow your beliefs and expectations, actually following through on your strategies. Discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. Everything that I talk about on this show, I don't care if we're talking business, we're talking some social issue, we are talking mindset, I'm telling you some story. Everything comes back to one of these 4 principles every single time. So the second point, strategies. This is the number one issue for those of you who are really good at your game and you work really hard at what you do, The problem is not that you're good and not that you work hard. Those are not bad things. Keep doing both. The problem is you're trying to do everything by yourself. Or you're doing everything through random actions. You don't actually have a plan, a strategy behind those actions. You're just doing stuff and hoping that something works out. And if you keep doing stuff and hoping that something works out, hey, maybe one day something will work out. The problem is you don't know what that day is going to be. And the problem with that is you're on the clock in life, and eventually your time is going to run out. So that's not a good enough strategy, all right, as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you disagree, you can let me know. But I don't think that's a good enough strategy that you're just going to keep doing random stuff and hope that one day something works out. Because eventually you're going to run out of time, and that one day might be after your time's up. So would you be open to a different strategy? Would you be open to it? I'm not saying you had to do it, but are you open to hearing it? This can work, as I said, doing everything on your own, building some momentum. But there comes a time when you need to get some strategy behind your actions. And right now, you might not even know that you don't have a strategy. So let me ask you, do you have a strategy? If you do, you should be able to explain it. If you can't explain it, you don't have a strategy. So let me say it again. If you have a strategy, you could explain your strategy to me. If you cannot explain your strategy to me, you don't have one. Any strategy you should be able to clearly explain it, even to somebody who knows nothing about what you do, your line of work. So right now, those of you who don't have a strategy, and I would assume is most of you don't have a strategy. Your strategy, or what you call a strategy, is to work hard as hell, work on your game. The problem is you have a flawed or non-existent strategy that is a ceiling on your potential. A concrete ceiling, not a glass ceiling. See, a glass ceiling, you can see through it. Or you can at least see what's up there. A concrete ceiling, you can't see through concrete. And if you bang your head on a concrete ceiling, it's going to hurt. You're going to get a concussion. You smash your fist through a glass ceiling, you might be able to break the glass. You might get a lot of glass all over you, but you can break through glass. You can't break through concrete with your hand unless you're Bruce Lee. So what I suggest that you do is get some help. Instead of doing everything randomly and hoping that it works out with all your hard work, get some help. What do I mean by help? Talk to someone who knows more than you. How do you know someone knows more than you? Well, one way is that they're doing more than you. They're more consistent than you. They can explain what they do more clearly than you can. And they can look at what you're doing and show you where you're making mistakes that logically make sense to you. If someone can do all those things, they probably know something that you don't know. They probably know a lot of things that you don't know. You need to talk to that person. Sign up for a course. Get yourself a coach. Join a mastermind program. Do something that will help you get access to the information and the knowledge and insights that you clearly do not have. Humble yourself enough to find help. Many of you hardworking individuals, and I take some blame for this, because you listen to this guy, says work on your game every single day, and some of you only get that and you don't get any of the details of what I'm saying. So you think if you just keep working on your game, you're eventually going to create success. And listen, maybe you might get lucky and create some just by working on your game and grinding blindly, as I talked about. I just talked about that yesterday. I want you to listen clearly to everything that I say, not just the bits and pieces that are convenient for you. Humble yourself enough to find some help. First of all, humble yourself enough to identify that you need help. Become aware of your own ignorance. We have a masterclass coming on that very subject very soon. Humble yourself enough to know you need help. And then understand that a combination of skill, which you already have, strategy, which you don't have, and belief, which you might not have, that's hard to beat. When you combine all three of these together, you're always going to win. Skill, strategy, belief. If you have all three, you will win every single time. So if you feel like, and again, there's no objective measure for winning. If you feel like you are not winning right now, it is because you are deficient in at least one of these three areas: skill, strategy, and belief. And the challenge for many of you, this is the challenge. And usually, in my experience, this is the challenge usually with males, is that your ego is standing in for belief. You say you believe in what you're going to do, and what you're really saying is that you have so much ego that you're not willing to admit that you don't believe it. Or your ego is telling you, is standing in as a proxy for strategy. You say, well, yeah, I have a strategy for what I'm going to do. I say, okay, tell me your strategy. And then you tell me the strategy, and the strategy makes no sense whatsoever. All right, that's your ego talking. That is not actual strategy. And usually, again, as I said, usually this is men who have this issue. I'm not saying you ladies are exempt from this, but in my experience, usually men who have this problem. that their ego is telling them to tell me that they believe in what they're doing, that they have a strategy. And then when I look at what they're doing, I realize that either they're not that smart, which is usually not the case, or their ego is talking for them, which usually is the case. So males, you need to check yourself double on this one. And if you have a lady in your life who is comfortable enough telling you the truth, ask her, let her tell you. So you don't think I'm just hating, okay? Missing one of these three is like missing a leg on a three-legged stool. That stool is not going to stand up. Now, again, I can help you with this if you would be humble enough to show me what you have, and I can take a look at it and tell you, all right, where you're deficient. Or if you can be humble enough to look in the mirror and tell yourself where you're deficient, and when you recognize your deficiency, then do something about that deficiency, i.e. go get some help. Do not try to fix this on your own. It will take you too long. It is probably not your area of expertise. Find someone for whom this is the area of expertise. And my Bulletproof Mastermind, I can help you with all of this. But find someone for whom this is their area of expertise and let them help you. Everybody will be doing the thing that they're best at. Everyone's in their zone of genius, and you'll get a lot more done a lot faster. Because remember what the goal is here. The goal is not to serve your ego. The goal is to win. And sometimes winning means putting your ego to the side. We got a whole episode just on that topic. That was episode number 1523. Check your ego at the door. And episode 1353, prioritizing success over ego. That's exactly what I'm talking about right here. Episode 1353. Sometimes creating success means putting your ego to the side. Are you willing to do that? Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why people who are not nearly as good as you are outperforming you. Number 3, persistence and mental toughness. What is mental toughness? We know. Your willingness to be disciplined and confident, continuing to show up, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expect to achieve is yet to be achieved. This is the fight that you need to have. You need to have that fight within you. Since we already know that no plan is going to work flawlessly. All right. Even the people who you know of who you, by your subjective measure, they are outperforming you. They're doing better than you. They have to go through challenges too. Everything does not work out for them either. It might look like it. Maybe that's the only parts they tell you about, that everything's working. But trust me, they have things that don't work for them too. They just don't tell you. They just don't tell you everything. So you got to have the fight, the internal fortitude to fight through situations even when they're not working in your favor. No plan will work flawlessly. No strategy is foolproof. We know and we expect that there will be unexpected roadblocks in our process. That doesn't mean we're going to stop ourselves from trying, but we're going to run into a roadblock somewhere along the way. As long as you expect it, you can deal with it. As they say in combat sports, it's not the hard punch that knocks you out, it's the punch that you don't see coming. So when you expect that there'll be a roadblock at some point, you can at least be ready to deal with it instead of being surprised and it destroys your whole plan and stops all your momentum. So how much of these roadblocks can you handle while continuing to move? What is your IQ, as they say? And when I say IQ, I don't mean your intelligence quotient. I mean your I quit. What has to happen before you quit? How many things need to get thrown in your way before you give up? What is your IQ? Maybe you have everything in place as far as your strategies, and you have the belief, and you believe you have the game. You got everything in place. But when things get tough, you punk out. You quit. Simply because since you have game and you have strategy and you have the belief, you think everything's going to work out. Then when you realize everything's not going to be so easy, you give up because it's not easy how you thought it was going to be. Somebody sold you a bill of goods and told you that everything was supposed to be easy. Now, I don't know who that was you got it from, but it damn sure wasn't me. So I would suggest you lock in the station to where you're at right now so that you can get the real about how things are going to go, not the fairy tale. This flaw alone of punking out when things get tough can undo all of your hard work, and it can negate the potency of your talent and resources. Let me say that sentence again. This flaw of quitting when things get tough can undo all of your hard work, and it will negate the potency of all your talent and all of your resources. So this is one that you should address. This is like an emergency situation for you to address this issue. Any of you who has a habit of quitting. A persistent idiot will defeat a tentative genius. Let me say that one more time. A persistent idiot will defeat a tentative genius. Let's recap today's class, which is why people who are not nearly as good as you are actually doing better than you. Point number one, belief and expectations. A lot of success in life is your belief that you can be a success and the subsequent actions that accompany that belief. People who have less skill than you, one of the main reasons they're out achieving you is simply because they are aiming higher than you're aiming. And that is what qualifies them to get more than you, and you are getting less because you are qualifying yourself for less by aiming lower. You can change this very easily. Point number two, strategy. This is the number one issue for people who are really good at their game and working hard. You are trying to do everything all on your own. The issue is you're not good at everything. So some of those things you're doing, you are not being efficient at simply because you don't have the skill set to be doing them. Get some help. Humble yourself enough to know that you need help and then go get the help. Sign up for a course. Hire a coach. Join a mastermind. A combination of skill, strategy, and belief is impossible to beat. Understand all three do not have to be in the same person. All right, you can get help. You can put together elements to help you have all three. Just as long as they're working on your behalf, you can win. Now, I'll tell you about my mastermind where I can help you with this in one moment. And point number three, persistence and mental toughness. This is the fight that you need to have since we know no plan is going to be flawless. No strategy is foolproof. There will be unexpected roadblocks. The question is, what is your IQ? That stands for I quit. What needs to happen before you quit? This flaw alone of quitting can undo all your hard work, negate all your talent and resources, and keep this idea in mind. A persistent idiot can and will defeat a tentative genius. Send me a text. Get my daily motivation every single day straight to your phone free of charge. My number is 305-384-6894. And if you are the type person who you need that strategy in place, you want some mindset reinforcement that is consistent, that will keep you focused, sharp, and on point, and you want to make sure, or actually you want to have somebody take a look at what strategies you have, what plans you have in place. Are you actually following through on something that's going to get you to where you want to get to? And you know that there may be some holes that need to be filled, some holes that need to be poked in what you're doing, and some gaps that need to be plugged. Join me in my Bulletproof Mastermind. I do a live training every single week. We have a members-only community, and you will get hands-on direct attention straight from me on your plans, on your strategies, your mindset, and everything in between. The way you join that is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link's down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all